He's amazing, give him all my praises, cause he died for you and me. And that's why I keep praising him, cause he...
Okay, guys, most of y'all on here already know I am a domestic violence advocate. I say,
Hey, how you doing?
hey, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm good.
I say survivor a lot of times, but um, I guess now I need to say advocate. I have been out of that journey many years now, 30 plus years. So um, God has allowed me to use my testimony to try to help somebody else and to bless children who've lost mothers, fathers to domestic violence. Um, to use my voice to try to help somebody else get out. Um, if I can just help one person live, then I've done what God has chosen me to do. So, with that being said, I have somebody on here with me. She is not only my friend, but she is my cousin on my father's side. And she shared something with me, I think probably about 4 years ago, Delores, maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah, about 4 years ago.
Yeah, when she saw one of my posts on Facebook about a piece of my journey, she had commented on that post. And she also and I were together probably about 4 years ago. I was in something visiting and we were together. And she began to tell me um, some of her journey. Y'all, she got a testimony that people need to hear.
Yes,
I've
yes.
been asking her for a while to go live with me and talk about it. You know, I haven't, this is not, we haven't rehearsed anything. We don't have anything written out. Um, I told her earlier, just speak what God gives her. So we just gonna talk. And whatever God allows her to tell you tonight, I want her to tell it because we all have a different journey.
Well, different walk.
Right.
Yes.
And there's some things that I went through in that journey that she didn't go through. And there's some things that she went through that I didn't.
Mm.
But her, listen, her, I tell people all the time, I'm a living testimony. Um, living testimony. This girl right here is a true enough, show enough living testimony. Um, she should have been gone in that journey, but God kept her.
Yes. Yes,
And
yes, yes.
I always speak of some of the things that I've been through. I've posted what God has allowed me to post of my journey that I've been through. I need y'all, those of you who can and who will, share this or tag some people into this video. There's somebody out there that needs to know they can make it. And I'm
They can.
honored to have her on here with me tonight because um, her testimony is going to save lives. And I just want her. Her name is Delores Singleton.
Singleton.
I made it. Thank God for Jesus. I had a praying mama. I had 3 women in my life that advocated for me when they found out what I was living in. And that was my
We're
mother, Helen
blessed.
Goodman,
We're blessed.
and that was my auntie, Pat Gass, and my neighbor. Oh my God, I love her. Miss Lucillas. I think her last name is Spain.
Hmm.
They stood for me. They advocated for me. They saw what was going on and they didn't turn away and turn a blind eye. They fought for me. And I thank God for them. So um, There's somebody out there living in this situation, living in this dark place. And they need to know that they have people like me, people like Delores, who are fighting for you. We're here. You need us. Call me, inbox me. I actually have some numbers. I was going to give you guys the domestic violence number, the national domestic violence. But I'm going to post it on my page later. And I might have posted it.
Yeah,
I have
I also have it
yeah, and I got
in
the number
case,
for
just in case.
the domestic violence division in Sumter, South Carolina. Um, I have some names of some women and some children that have been murdered in this past 2 years alone to domestic violence, and three of them are right there in Sumter that have been
Wow.
murdered.
Yeah.
Domestic violence, but maybe later on in the feed that God allowed me to call some of those names. But I want Dolores to talk, and Dolores, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Rebecca. You're welcome. I'm
I've been
just
excited.
glad that
Yes,
you're giving me this forum. Yes,
I've been
yes.
excited all for the last couple of days about you coming on with me because I know your journey and I know your testimony. And so I
Okay.
want you to say hey to my peoples. We all family here. So get comfortable
Hello,
in my
everybody.
rocking chair. I'm chilling. I got my hot tea. Um, and I know this is a serious thing that we're talking about, but we want to be comfortable and enjoy each other and love up on each other while we're on here. So you tell me
It-
what God has given. How long ago was it that you walked this journey?
okay, Rebecca, it started when I was like 25 years old. And, I met my husband in the church. So it goes to show that, this thing doesn't discriminate
Mm,
with no one. It does not discriminate because you would think meeting a man in church, he would be good.
right, right,
But we all know, that is not always the case. We pray for our husbands, and sometimes we don't wait,
right.
to see if that's truly who God has sent you. So, I kind of take responsibility a little bit because I kind of overstepped God in that on that behalf. But I did, like I say, met my husband, well, my first husband in the church, and we were married about maybe 2 months, and it was during the time when Hurricane Hugo,
Mm,
took its toll in Sumter, and we were married 2 months. And my battle with him started in the streets.
mm,
I mean, a lot of people think the domestic violence is happening behind closed door. Well, this man was so bold that the first time he attacked me was in the streets,
Jesus.
in the middle of the street, and on Washington Street here in Sumter. We had gone to the store and we were walking, so I didn't want to take all the money with me, and I, just kind of asked him what he wanted, and kind of in my mind thought about how much it would cost, so I didn't have to take all the money. Well, by the time we got to the store, it had changed. He wanted something else, and I didn't have all the money to pay for it. And he got very angry, and that's when he really, literally just popped off at me, in the middle of the street. And I'll never forget that night because I ran away from the store into the streets, hoping that I could stop somebody, that somebody would stop and help me.
Mm.
And oh my God, so many cars passed by before one man actually stopped
Tell him who
and
that.
called the police. Yes.
Do you know who that
I
is?
don't know who this man is. I wouldn't know him if he came, but I know that he was an angel sent by God because he came and he actually made that call for me. And that was just the battle. That's when it really began. And I went through with that, dealing with him, not knowing if he's gonna get mad tonight, not knowing if this the night that I'm gonna have to take my babies and put them somewhere safe because I know I had to, fight this man. He was a little bit old, well, a lot older than me. Met him in the church. I was in my 20s. He was in his early 40s,
Mm-hmm.
and he just couldn't handle having a young wife. I mean, it wasn't all of that. I knew lots of people here in Sumter, so I would always have people speaking to me. And if a man was to speak to me, and sometimes people thought I was just not, trying to act stuck up, but I knew that if a man spoke to me, I had to fight that night.
Right. Right.
And that's how it was. He tried to alienate me from all my friends. Didn't want me to be around my family. Threatened me, threatened my family if I would tell. So, I just want people to know that tell somebody. Somebody has to know. And also, family. If you know your relative or your friend is not always distant like that, pick up on those symptoms. Something is wrong. She may not be able to tell you, but pick up on those symptoms. So those are one of the, a couple of the symptoms and things that I went through. I stopped talking to my family. I stopped talking to my friends. And I was literally throughout my entire pregnancy, I got beat.
Jesus.
I got beat for little of nothing. I got beat. I mean, I have so many stories that I don't even want to really go into right now.
But I want
But
to tell a little bit of what you endured and the bruises, and because somebody needs to hear it. Speak what God allows you to speak. You know what I mean?
okay,
But
okay,
I would love for you to get into.
okay.
Let me
Well,
remember when
going
you and
back.
I were talking a few years ago, and you were telling me about your
Hmm.
journey, and you were telling me about the night that he beat you in the street. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if that was the same night that Earl intervened.
Oh no, this was further down the line
Okay.
when Earl came. This was about a year and a half. So I went through about a year and a half of this. And not only him, I had other friends like, Santana G came to my rescue, Waverly, but I didn't want my family to
Right.
know.
Right.
I kind of stepped out and let my friends know. But, I dealt with the bloody face. I dealt with the swollen lips.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, that first night, he hit me so hard my top tooth went down into the bottom part of my lip, and they couldn't stitch it, and I still got bruises, from that. To this day I still got a scar there. But to me, that's a battle scar, and that's just
Ah,
letting me know that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't not deny what happened to me. And I know I stayed quiet for a long time, Rebecca, and I thank you for telling your story that gave me the strength to tell mine.
Oh, wow.
But I was embarrassed.
Lit-
I was ashamed of the stuff that I went through.
Yeah. I,
I really was.
yeah.
I can remember being in the kitchen cooking and not even positioning food in the pot right. He would hit me. I would wake up behind the kitchen door on the floor, just simple things. It doesn't take big things to set these people
No,
off.
it
It's the small
no,
things.
it doesn't.
It's the small things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was awful.
Yeah.
It really was. And you feel alone and you feel trapped,
Yeah.
but you're not.
You know,
But you're not.
I felt like
You're
I was actually talking to one of my coworker today at work about this.
mm-hmm.
Um, she asked me to share a little bit of my journey with her. And I remember when I spoke at Salem Baptist Church last October, and I said then when I spoke that, sometimes when you see a woman sitting in church, and she's quiet or withdrawn, and sometimes we want to look
Yes.
stuck up. She thinks she cute. She ain't speaking. No, what
It's
I found out is that same woman that you think sitting there reserved, quiet, she won't speak, she doesn't talk. She doesn't think she's cute. Goes home, she's gonna get beat. So the
yes.
the
Yes.
community. I thank God daily for Miss Lou Phyllis Fan because she is the one, after over a year, walked to my mother's shop and told my mother, Helen, I can't take it no more. That man has been beating on Beck for over a year and I can't take it. That's how my mother felt.
Yes.
And when my auntie found out, when I was 8 months pregnant with my second daughter, he had taken the piggy bank half full of coins during an argument
Oh my goodness.
having and smashed it in my face. Blood everywhere. I couldn't fight back.
Oh
I
Lord.
got in my mother's station wagon and I drove around the corner to my auntie's house. And I parked in front of her house. And she had a customer in there because she was a seamstress. And she was walking
Uh-huh.
the customer out the door and she saw my mother's station wagon. And she told the lady, I'm gonna need you to go because I gotta go see what's going on. My auntie came to the car, and when I told her what had happened, she jumped in the car and drove me to my mother's shop. She went looking for him. Sharon, it's Miss Phyllis McFadden. Okay, Miss Phyllis McFadden. She was my neighbor.
Yes.
I tell people all the time, she was one of my angels and my advocate because she could have been like most people and heard him
And just
going
kept quiet,
ahead
Yeah.
and just kept quiet. But
Yeah.
instead,
Yeah.
she walked to my mother's shop and told my mother, Helen, this boy is beating on back. And I thank God for her. Daily, I did. My mother, my auntie Pat, and Miss Lou Phyllis were three women in my life that fought for me.
Wow.
They
Yes.
were quiet.
Yes.
My aunt, oh my God, my auntie Pat went toe to toe with him one day, and his
Mm.
father. She literally went toe to toe with him one day about that same day that he smashed me in my face with that piggyback.
Yeah.
So I thank God for people like them. I thank God for Ms. Lou Phyllis because we hear the fighting in the next apartment, but we don't want to mind nobody else's business. We'll
Exactly.
come out and we see the woman walk out the house
I
with her face bruised up, but we don't want to mind anybody else's business. But sometimes we got to mind somebody else's.
to mine.
If
Yeah.
it's going
That's
to
what I say.
save
Get
life.
involved. Get
You know what I mean?
involved. Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes we
Yes.
got these babies now that's being murdered in a domestic violence situation by their father's girlfriend, their mother's boyfriends, their husbands. These babies are being murdered because nobody want to get involved. The schools see what's going on. Social services getting involved, and they're sending these babies back to the abusers.
Because it's easier just to turn their heads
Yeah.
than to have to pick up a phone and call somebody.
Yeah. But
And that's not good. That's not good.
I was telling my coworker today. I remember the last incident. Well, it wasn't the last incident. It was the day that I filed for divorce. I saw him in the laundromat that day, and he just sat there and kept staring. So I knew something crazy was going to happen because they had served him with the divorce papers. And
Wow.
my brother Bobby was in town from, I think, Seattle, Washington. Nobody knew he was there, but the close family. So he was at me
Family, yeah.
Rabbit house. This man came to my house that evening, and said he needed to talk about the girls. Now, reluctantly, and after my sister Rabbit was like, Beck, don't go outside. I went outside because we had two girls together, and I sat on the side of the passenger door with my leg and half of my body hanging out of the car. Okay, what do you want? He said one word, put his arm around my throat, grabbed me back to him to the steering wheel, and sped off. My brother heard me screaming, and he skipped 8 steps from the door and ran the car down. Halfway down the street. Yeah, I did. Sometimes I sit and think about what would have happened to me if my brother had been there to rescue me.
Exactly, Rebecca. This is my very last incident of dealing with my husband came when I had to take my 2 children and walk them down the street and put them in my brother's car, leave the 2 oldest kids in the car, and go back and get my baby.
Jesus.
All because a man spoke to me at church. At church now.
Wow.
I knew that I had to fight. I had my 8-year-old daughter out there in the yard with me trying to help me fight. So once this man fell asleep, and I knew I had to get away because I was already in my mind thinking of all kind of ways that I could kill him, what I could do to him. But I had my babies to think about. So I took two little kids, 8 and 6 years old, and put them in a car by themselves.
Wow.
Asked them to stay in that car and don't unlock the door, and then went back and got my baby and got him.
My God.
It took me having to go into a safe place to realize that this is not how life is supposed to be. You're not supposed to be afraid of the person who you say or they say they're going to spend the rest of their lives loving you.
Right.
You're not supposed to be afraid of people like, like that.
Absolutely.
So it took me doing that. And when he realized that, I was gone, he came back. He got people in the church to kind of lure me back. So I say every time, I'm not saying don't listen to your church family, but they don't know. All they know is that they want, or they think what God put together, no man should pull apart. But you got to ask God did he put that together?
Come on now.
Because he say in his word, he ain't going to hold nothing good from us. So there's nothing good that's coming from somebody being abused.
Come on.
No good in that.
Come on.
So I'm here as a living witness, as a testimony, as you stated early, that your situation and the position that you're in does not have to be your destination.
It does not.
There is always help. It don't have to be. It's always help. Always somebody out there. But we as women, as mothers, as friends, we just have to learn how to not look the other way. Like I say, it's so much easier. And I just thank God for all the people in my life that did not look the other way.
That's profound. We got a question. Vet Rosalind Presley is asking.
Okay.
I feel y'all on domestic violence. What about being abused mentally? Far heal mentally. Vet, I had this conversation with a few people recently in the last few months. I have been abused mentally and physically. Now, I'm not taking away from either one, the mental or the physical. But I said to somebody, and I believe this, sometimes the physical don't heal. Sometimes you can be abused so bad till the physical, broken bones, um, acid being thrown in your face don't heal. But let me tell you something about the mental abuse. People always talking about words, sticks and stones may break my bones. Words. Let me tell you something about abuse, mental abuse. The goal for mental abuse is to control the mind. If they can destroy you and beat you down and make you feel like nobody cares or that you're not worthy, you're not worth anything, nobody wants you. I've been called, can I say it, y'all? Because I'm just going to keep it real. I've been called a snitch. I've been told I think too much of myself. Every time I turn around, you about I this, I that. You think too much. I've been told I'm nobody. Nobody wants me. Nobody cares. I've been told see, the abuse for me started with the verbal. He started with the verbal abuse first. That went through the
that's how it
year
starts.
while I was pregnant with my oldest daughter.
That's how it starts.
Did not start until I had my first daughter, after I had her. So by the time the physical had started, he had beaten me up so much mentally. And then here I am, 19 years old, never experienced anything like this, never seen it in my home, never seen it with my aunties. I've never seen it. So I'm like, now, first of all, I'm embarrassed. Because, see, with me, my mother and father begged me not to marry him. But I did. Mommy, I'm grown.
Yes.
Daddy, I'm grown. I'm 19 now, and I'm going to get married. But see, 2 weeks before my wedding, he came to my parents' house, and there was a male friend, family friend there, and I saw a violent tendency in that man. And I wanted to call that wedding off. But my mom had spent so much money on that wedding. We talking about back in 1980, 83. My wedding dress was like $850. You know what I mean?
Wow.
A lot of money. So I'm like terrified. If I tell my mama I don't want to marry this man, my mama gonna kill me. She doesn't spend all this money.
Mhm.
So even with the fear of knowing, okay, this man got some violent tendencies that I just saw, I married him anyway. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that verbal abuse, a lot of times, can do more damage than the physical. I know a couple
Yeah.
of friends that went through nothing but verbal abuse. He never laid a hand on them, but he destroyed them mentally.
Mentally. Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, took away all of their security, everything. He destroyed them mentally.
Self-esteem. Your self-esteem is gone.
All of
Yeah.
and and
Yeah.
and that's what he was doing with me in that first year. Would get mad when I would go over to my mom's house. All he wanted me around was his mom and his stepfather. As long as I'm at his mother's house with his mother and stepfather, I'm fine. But if I go over the 216 line, we got an issue. That, all of the verbal. So I went through the verbal abuse for a year, almost a year, before the physical started. And sometimes, because I've lived them both, it's harder to heal from the verbal. It took
Oh,
me a lot of years, and I'm just going to be transparent. It took me a lot of years after my divorce from that man to heal mentally. I kid you not. I got a divorce at what, 23, 24 years old? I was almost 40 years old
for
before
you.
I can truly say that I was restored.
And it was like the same way with me. I was like really afraid, I if it starts with like you say, the little small things of seeing getting angry about this, or a push or a shove here.
Right,
I used to get scared when someone would walk. If somebody would reach out to me, I got defensive.
right.
You know, I got defensive, and mm, it took me a while to get over it too. It took me 30 years to even talk about it.
Yeah,
But yes, I never told anybody else about it until I told you about it.
my God.
Yes, I just kept it, and I would hear, and like I say, I'm glad you given a voice to this thing, because now as I look back, because I was afraid and I was ashamed to tell my story, I think about how many other women, girls that I could have helped.
Wow,
I am so ashamed of that.
wow.
And to anybody that's out there that knows me and think that I might have knew what was going on with you, I was too much in my shell. But I'm here today to say no more. I'm not turning and looking the other way.
No,
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be that hand that someone needed. I'm going to be that hand that I needed at that time.
my God.
So
That's
yes,
profound.
yes.
I
So
that's what I was telling somebody today, that you know I was in that journey for about 3 years, almost
yeah,
three
you
years
stayed a
before
lot.
I
Yeah, you
and
stayed a lot longer.
I never called the police. I never reported it.
Yes, very
Through
well known.
Dolores, everybody
Hmm.
and anybody knew my mother and respected my mother. I couldn't let nobody know I'm Helen Goodman's daughter and I done got married to somebody that's beating on me. That's not how my mother felt. That's how I felt. I can't embarrass my mama. I can't let people know this. I'm Helen Goodman's daughter. And the other reason was I was ashamed, embarrassed. I felt like a fool. Because my thing was, if I had listened to my mom and daddy and not married this man, then I probably wouldn't even be here. But I found out later, no matter what, it wasn't my fault.
It was no, it's not.
And
No,
I told
it's not your fault.
later, my mother asked me, why did I not leave him? And I told her, well, why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you come home? Why didn't you? I said, Ma, I'm Helen Goodman's daughter. I didn't want nobody to know that your daughter done married somebody who's beating on her.
Yeah.
You know, and I told her, I said, I was so embarrassed. I was just so lower the camera. My daughter's telling me to lower the camera. I was so embarrassed. I didn't know what to do. I really wasn't. KK, come here. I was so embarrassed. I just didn't want anybody to know. I didn't want to know that I had married somebody that was banging my head in. You know, because in high school I was the girl. I was all of the fellas' friend. The fellas was my boys. I was that chick that they come and tell all their business about. I knew who was. All the girls was. They come and talk to Beck because Beck was friends with Kevin and Eddie and all them, and so I was that chick. I was hard. Outgoing. I was feminine, but I was a sports girl. I was, tomboyish a little bit. So here I am, a year after high school. I am married to someone who's banging my head in. I was so embarrassed. I was just like, I can't call the cops. Who am I going to tell?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Miss Lou
Feel you on that.
Miss Lou Phyllis told my parents.
Yeah.
And I was angry for many years. Even after I came out of the journey. I was angry with men. I was angry with a lot of people. You know what I mean? Because I felt like, even though, I was going to church every Sunday, that was my saving grace. Going to church, Bible study. I'm loading up my two girls, going to church every Sunday. Whenever there was a service at the church, I had to be there. You can see me better now. Okay. Okay, that's every chance I got to be in the house of the Lord, I was there because that was my saving grace. Nobody in the church knew that I had just got beaten before going to church or got cursed out, called on my name.
On the way.
When I get home, I might have to fight.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Nobody knew it. I'm sitting up in the church all the time. Nobody knew it. I was at Salem Baptist Church on the choir, and nobody knew what I was living at home. But I was talking to someone about a year ago, not even a year ago, after I spoke at Salem in October. This young lady and I were talking, and I was talking to this younger girl, and I told her, listen, I don't care what you've done. I don't care. Y'all can argue all day. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
might have said some things out of your mouth you ain't got no business, and he might have said some things. But that gives no one the reason to bang their head in.
No, not at all.
You know, love don't destroy you. Love don't beat on you. You know, and it's anytime a man, and let's not forget about our men, because some of our men are living in domestic violence situations too.
That's true. Yeah, they are.
You got
They are.
men at being beaten up by his woman because he was taught to never fight a woman.
Mm-hmm.
You got some men that are being abused, you know, and uh, we have to we got to look out for each other. I know the signs now. I didn't know the signs before.
That's, yeah,
I
exactly.
look at somebody before and tell something is wrong. But now I can sit and look at somebody, a woman, for a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and like she's been abused.
And that's why